unique in this sense too, because just up the road here is the old glebe courts, and that's where our children were taken and criminalised and put into institutions. We call them the stolen generation, but it happened here. So it's a scarred, we're a scarred people. The other thing it represents too is a scarred God. We don't see God as someone who's been wounded, but he was wounded for our transgressions, was bruised for our iniquities. And the fulfillment of that came with us crucifying his son on the cross. So it represents that, scarred God. And from those perspectives, then it starts to ask questions about what does it mean to be reconciled. We don't talk too much about reconciliation here as Aboriginal people because we've never started with a good relationship anyways, so we don't know what reconciliation looks like or partnership or any of those kind of things. So we don't like the word reconciliation in that sense, politically and historically. But through the ministry of the cross, we know that we have the message of reconciliation in 2 Corinthians, the ministry of reconciliation and the responsibility of reconciliation. So as children of God, children of our Creator. So that's just a natural, normal outworking of our relationship with our Creator. He too is a wounded God. And our understanding of reconciliation is the fact that it's the wounded who ask for reconciliation and mercy and peace. It's not the perpetrator or the ones who are victorious over another nation, our invaders. They didn't ask for reconciliation. It's we, the wounded, who always seek reconciliation. It's the bruised and battered wife who always put her hand out and say, enough's enough. Can we have reconciliation? Or the child. The abused ones are always seeking reconciliation. That's why the message of Christ becomes so powerful when we know that he is a wounded God. He's putting his hand out. And so when you look at the statement from the heart, this was our gift to the country. So if we can negotiate on these three things, then perhaps we can start to think about reconciliatory processes from that particular perspective. So it was very deeply spiritual for me, very deeply powerful. And that's what that meant. And so the scar tree represents all of that for us. And being here at St. John's, if you know our history here in the country, in terms of our relationship with the church, it's fraught with disaster anyways, and pain, because the church has been a part of that pain and a part of that process of colonisation. One of the reasons why the Lord called us into Sydney, which I didn't want, what my responsibility is, knock on the door. And you've been here for 200 years, where's my church? Where's my pastor? Where's my bishops? Where are they? And this is where it started, just down the road here. And that still hasn't changed. Well, it changed slightly anyways. And alongside of that too, I mean, I went in there and I've read their wonderful missionary outlooks over in Africa and other places, and they can start a church over there in 2 years or whatever it is, an indigenous church. Well, what about us in your own backyard, 200 years? Where is our church? And so we still have that kind of challenge, and that's why St. John's here is not our church, it's an Anglican church, but we decided that we would grow a church within the church and give them an opportunity of experiencing what it means to be reconciled under the cross, under the scar tree, and through those processes there. So that's why we're here. You'll never see a church like this in Australia, perhaps around the world you might, but a church within a church We don't like the word church either because it comes with the colonisation process. We call ourselves a gathering. And we go gathering. And we go back to, Acts 2:42 onwards, when the first church gathered together. It was a multicultural church, 5,000 people, and that's the model. We have drifted so far away from that idea of what the first church experienced. So how do you create fellowship rather than church? So churches are really powerful instrument in this country. It's got its own section in the Constitution where it's separation of church and state, and we know that its power is quite influential right throughout this region here. When you realise that many of the nation groups that I visited and up there in Port Augusta, Port Douglas I should say, all come from a Christian background and Christian heritage. And one of the reasons why we started our NAITS, our own Indigenous University, was the fact that we wanted to interrogate this message, which we have the right to, and to see how useful it is for us and to us. And at this particular stage in our journey, of what benefit it is to us, we're still questioning that. I think we understand the message. We just know that Jesus didn't jump off the boat in 1788; he was already here. And well, he might have, because everyone treated him as a criminal too. But it's those kinds of historical facts, as well as the experiences in our contemporary world, that Indigenous peoples are still trying to figure out what is justice from our colonisers. And Thrasymachus put it quite clearly from that perspective in the Republic of Plato, because his definition of justice, or his challenge to Plato, was justice is only in the interest of the powerful. When you compare that to the Jesus type justice, there is these things, but this is the one that I think holds out in the long run. It's only in the interest of the powerful. We haven't really examined or questioned that notion of justice when it seems to be so real to us in so many ways. So yeah, we're on this journey. We'll continue on this journey to question what is justice, what does it look like, what does it feel like, and the more we question it, the more we feel like it's what happened to Jesus, because Jesus too was a colonized Jew under a very brutal regime, and he's our example of what it means to walk between those two worlds, between the religious institutions and the political institutions. And never the twain shall meet, but they have a huge big influence on life. Both, just not on Aboriginal life, but now on the globe. We can see globally that the church in so many different countries is trying to exert its authority, wrongly so, against the state or with the state. And so we navigate through that. I shall hand over to you. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, Ray, the reason